I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-Minute Convos, where I help you create a brand of your own unique real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good night, Patrick Fitzgibbons. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful night?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me on the show.
Hey, it's a great pleasure to connect with you. Tell us, what part of the world are you in right now?
I am in Colorado, specifically Boulder, Colorado. And that is, for those of you who are not familiar with the area, I'm about 45 minutes north of Denver.
Okay, sweet. Well, Patrick, please do tell us which of your talents is responsible for us meeting.
Well, I am a police officer of 20 years here in Colorado, and I also have a growing podcast called CJEvolution, which is a podcast for criminal justice professionals. But I also have people on that talk about other important things like leadership, mentorship, health and wellness, meditation. So that's why we're meeting, Engel.
Yeah. I love it. I love when people call me Engel. My wife, her eyebrows like twitches, right? Because she likes the Angel pronunciation.
I'm sorry, did I pronounce it wrong? Or
I didn't say that. No, you're good. It's just if you meet her, she may, hit you the one eye with the angle, right?
So she's like, you're pronouncing it wrong.
Yeah. No, it's cool. But yeah, so where did the inspiration come from? It's obvious where the inspiration came from. It's your job, right? It's the thing you love doing, isn't it?
Yeah, I love doing it, but I love connecting with people like you and other people out there that are trying to just change things. Law enforcement's going through a tough period right now. We're not perfect. There's a lot of bad stuff, and I'm glad I have an opportunity to talk with people to hopefully change things. Not all of it's bad in law enforcement, but we need to change the way we do things, and it's important that we have these conversations.
Podcast I had on, she speaks about FBI things. Her name is Jerry Williams, and it's really fascinating. I think it piqued my interest, right? Like just listening to the concept. But who did you learn this skill from? The skill of being able to connect to other people.
I think it happened, obviously with the job of a police officer, you're always connecting with people. You're always out there talking. And, we're in an information business, Engel, where we have to go out there and we have to connect people. We have to form relationships. But I think the big thing for me is I'm also a college professor. I get in front of people all the time, and I just love talking with people. I love learning about people, and because that's what it's about. We're constantly learning. We're constantly, getting, educated and just learning about other people. So I think to answer your question, maybe it's, a dual thing. Maybe it's my job of 20 years, but I've been teaching for a long time too. So I've never had a problem getting up in front of people, talking and just connecting with people. So I'm blessed.
Mm-hmm. Why would you continue to repeat this skill?
Because that's what we do in life. We were constantly striving to get better and to just be better people, and to take that knowledge and pass it along to the next generation. That's the way I look at things.
Yeah, exactly, right? You said it like, this is the norm.
That's just the way I look at the world. I've been really blessed. I've been in a tough job for 20 years, and I have a good, people around me that lift me up, man, because I think that's what it's about. You got to surround yourself with those positive influences in your life. There's so much negative in the world, but you can't focus on that. You just got to focus on just self-improvement. You got to put that positive inside you, because, what you put out in the universe is what you're going to get. That's what I believe. So if you think negative thoughts, if you think, life is horrible and, I'm never going to do anything with my life, then that's what you're going to get. And you really have to fill yourself with positivity and surround yourself with the right people.
Well, tell me one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years.
Oh, that's a great question. Spent more time with my family. So much of my job as a police officer, you're working crazy shifts and, at night and being away from your family. So I've had really the opportunity to kind of change my roles within the organization. That gives me the opportunity for the last more than 3 years, several years now, to spend more time with my family. And it really, again, it's consistent, and it really has brought me closer to my family.
How does it make you feel?
It makes me feel wonderful because life is about relationships, Engel. You know this. I mean, it's not about nobody ever says on their deathbed, at least I believe, nobody ever says on their deathbed, I wish I would have spent more time on the job or whatever job you have. People always come back and they say, I wish I would have spent more time cultivating relationships. I wish I would have spent more time with these people. So I'm glad I have the opportunity to spend more time with my family.
Suggest to someone that may be listening that definitely has no challenge in getting up in front of an audience, how they can go ahead and do something like you've done, where you've jumped into the podcast world.
Well, I think you got to be self-confident. I mean, I think you got to believe in yourself and, realize that, most people out there who are successful, I mean, the same as you, Engel. I mean, you had to take that leap forward. You had to take that chance and, realize that there are going to be people out there that are naysayers and they're going to try to kind of pull you down and say, hey, you can't do that. You can't, people are going to laugh at you. It really is about just believing in yourself. And it's about taking that first step and realizing that failure is an essential part of success. Nobody just wakes up one day and they're successful. You have to fail forward. So that's what maybe that's what people don't want to hear, but you have to realize that you have to take that first step. You have to have self-confidence. You have to just put yourself out there, man, because people want people to be genuine. What people don't want is people to be fake. If you put yourself out there and you're genuine and you have that, that drive and your self-confidence, that's going to come through and people are going to love it. That's been my experience. And you might make mistakes, but that's okay. That's part of the learning process. That's part of the road to success.
Amazing audience. We are live here with Patrick Fitzgibbons. He is the podcast host of CJEvolution. Do check him out. Patrick, let's switch gears for a moment. Let me now invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Patrick, what is your earliest childhood memory?
My earliest childhood memory was probably spending time with my dad. I grew up with my dad was I was a military brat, if people know what that is. I mean, we travel around, and I remember being in. It's interesting you brought water into it, but I remember being in the pool with my dad and playing. My dad throwing me up in the air and just having a great time with my father in the pool. That might seem simplistic, but that always sticks out in my mind.
How old do you think you were?
I would probably say I'm 4 or 5.
Interesting. Why do you think this memory is so clear?
Because it was, I think it was just being around my dad, and he was such a mentor, and he still is. I mean, he's still just such an important person in my life, and look up to him. And he's just, a person I've always admired, and I've always strived to become like him. So I think that's why it sticks in my mind so much.
Interesting. Well, can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Oh, go ahead.
I love the idea that, or the imagery, or even the thought space of what the water creates, where there's an equalizing factor, where you both are able to do a lot of the same things. The confidence then that you spoke of, that's necessary, and that your father is there communicating with you, having you in a place where you have the confidence just as much as he does. And it's really intriguing that is what you're doing now, helping others build their confidence by sharing through your confidence. The confidence word definitely strikes, right?
Oh yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. If we fast forward to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
Favorite song at 12 years old? That's a great question. I love the Rolling Stones. So I think, Van Halen, I was into, different music at that time, but I would probably say my favorite song at that point, I was pretty young, but I love the Beatles too. So I love John. God, it's so hard to pick out one song, Engel. I think John Lennon, is a great artist. Unfortunately, he passed away, like we all know. But
what's the first song that just shot through in your mind?
It was that song by John Lennon when he talks about everybody just getting along in the world and just being together. And God, I can't remember. Yeah. I don't know if you know what song I'm talking about.
I do not know the name of it, but yeah, because you see, what really matters in the midst of this
Imagine.
There we go.
Imagine. I mean, it's such a great song for me, and it sticks out when you first asked me. There's so many bands out there, but that really stuck out. Matter of fact, I heard it a couple days ago, and it's just a song about just being together and just kind of uniting as all just united and about love and coming together and just all getting along. I know that sounds maybe simplistic, but it really struck out in my mind as a kid.
Yeah, it's good. It's amazing how it connects, right?
Oh, yeah, music's beautiful.
Yeah, even with the water aspect, right? It's really fascinating. You hit the beach, right? And everyone gets in the water. It's like we're half naked, but we're in the water, right?
That brings everybody together.
It does, right? It's really amazing. All right, Patrick, well, we have arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to go pretty quickly here. Patrick, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Yes.
Are you married?
Yes.
Do you have children?
Yes.
Do you believe in God?
Yes.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
How about 3 hours a week?
Probably 3 hours a week, yes.
What about screen time, the phone and or the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Probably less than 8 hours a day.
After 1001 conversations in 3 months, I came up with a workbook, and the name of it is Yours, and it stands for your own unique real self. Connected to that is your own unique real statement, your mission. If you had to share your own unique real statement with us, Patrick, what would that be?
To give back to the world, make each day your masterpiece.
Love it. Wow. Patrick, this was a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Engel, I thank you so much for reaching out to me, sir, and having me on your podcast. Keep up the good work, and God bless everybody out there listening to your show.
Love it. Patrick Fitzgibbons, thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.